Good morning. Welcome to the Light on Suitability podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Comeau. I am with special guests and hosts and participants, and it's just a big community at this point. Joseph Haydes, he's also an attorney. Thomas, Oscar, Frankie, I'm not sure. The only reason I don't say their last names is just because I don't know if I don't know. It's just me. It's my nature only. And Michele Garfinkle, who is also an attorney who represents parolees at their parole hearings. Somebody remind me at the end to let Joe and Michele give their contact information. And I wanted to start, we wanted to talk to Oscar, who's a friend of Frankie. Frankie, as you know, recently paroleed, doing very well. And he brought Oscar with him today to share his stories, but we only have so much time. And we thought we would start with the MCRP program that he's involved with. Oscar, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what that stands for and what it's about? And then we'll dig into some questions if anybody has questions.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate that. The circle, I feel the kinship, the kinship here, and it's the energy is felt. MCRP, Men's Community Reentry Program. This program it's a unique program that was created for individuals as myself, that when you're still inside and you have 32 months to the house, you are eligible to qualify to transition to one of the locations that MCRP offers, but you have your initial crime had to be committed in a residential area where MCRP is offered. So let's say let me correct that. You had to live in a residential area before your incarceration in order for you to qualify on the MCRP program. So if you lived in Orange County before you got incarcerated, you will not qualify for MCRP unless you're from the LA County region. So before you want to do the MCRP process, while you're in prison, you request it. And when you request it with a 22 form, your counselor will usually, if they don't communicate with you, and you should definitely be proactive about it and try to get on it. But and especially if you have 32 months to the house, and especially if you don't have no 115s at the time. So I was doing good for that year, and I was clean, and they reviewed my case. The AW and the CC3 and the CC2, you have like a small committee, and they go all through all your factors, your contributing factors of your initial charges, and they'll ask you some questions. If you answer those questions properly and they feel that you're a person or a candidate for the program, then you're deemed approved, and it takes about 3 months. But this is the key thing where a lot of individuals that are incarcerated fall short from MCRP. So MCRP is a transitional program, and the whole outlook and the whole mission is for individuals that have been incarcerated to come into a program at MCRP and receive drug treatment courses, gang treatment courses, any type of therapeutic knowledge or treatment that you might need. And people might hear inside, oh, they let you go to work, they let you do this. Well, absolutely they do, but it's a process, right? The main concept and the main goal is to get those internal introspective struggles addressed and mitigated before you start even being allowed to get out there in society and start making these moves for work, school, and things in that nature that would keep you aligned with societies today. So my experience has been amazing. For me, luckily, I was already doing the work in prison. So when I was able to transition, and they told me, hey, look, you're gonna be in MCRP for 9 months. I told myself in my head, I need 9 months anyhow. I don't need to be in society. I don't need to be out there. I've been incarcerated for 10 years. I'm gonna need help. And if if this program can help me baby step and help me regain myself, I'm all for it. I don't care if you're gonna lock me up in a room and just let me out to groups for those 9 months. Guess what? I'll do it. Whatever it is, I was willing to do it. So I didn't come here and with any type of entitlements. I didn't come here that I deserve this or I need this, right? I was willing to go through the process and be patient. Um, Kind of like what AVP tells us. Suffer for what's important, and the suffering was now that you're a little bit out in society, you want to go out. You're starting to see things, right, and you start getting anxious, and you wanna do things that other people are doing, but that's when you gotta regulate those emotions immediately. So here immediately I got here and there's phases. In 60 days, I was able to get a cell phone, which is huge, right? Not illegal, all legal now. Nobody has to watch your back. You don't have to do nothing, break the law. But through those 60 days, I was doing the first phase, which is threshold here at Amity Foundation, which is umbrella under MCRP. And they have their own rules and policies. Each MCRP is run by certain policies that the drug treatment program there initiates. And here it's a certain process, and it's amazing though. Here at MCRP, we got a full-blown $1 million gym. We have a beautiful, I want to say that we call it it's an outside garden porch area. We have a nice fountain. We have a nice sitting patios. I mean, it's like so peaceful. I mean, you would think it's an oasis, literally. We grow our own veggies. Our dining hall here, it's immaculate. You would think it's a high-end restaurant. Where we do our treatments across the streets, we call it the Rainmaker, right? And Naya, who is the founder of Amity Foundation, created the Rainmaker. So when we come into that room, we have no recollection of prison walls, of metal toilets, when you go in there, you sit down and you literally go into meditation mode automatically because the walls are furnished with you see meditation quotes. Everything is like reddish, and there's like birds even there that you'll hear them sing here and there. Everything was created so that the mind and the body and the soul is free from prison, and it really is. And then we have an education department here as well that is also connected with DOR and many vocational training programs that MCRP individuals could do when they meet that phase. So since I came here with 9 months, my first phase was called Threshold. And I was there for 30 days. And then I had to go to East Lodge. East Lodge was for 2 months. And then I hit South. When one hits South phase, that's when you could start going out to venture for work. That's when you could get out and start being trusted to get on a commute system. And you out there by yourself in the real world now. And you start seeing LA it's quite different from 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. Homelessness is heavy. Drugs are being smoked live and direct. So if you struggle with methamphetamine, if you struggle with alcohol, guess what? You're in for a rude awakening. High risk situations everywhere. Everywhere. You look left, I mean, it's everywhere. You cannot hide from it. I was amazed yesterday when I was walking down from this project that I was able to go to. There was a guy literally like this on the wall in the street smoking a methamphetamine pipe live and direct right there. And I was like, wow, that was my drug of choice, by the way. Right. I literally stared and I looked back and I was like, wow, this is insane. But this is what society is going through right now. Luckily, MCRP is a very safe place, especially Amity, where I'm at. While I've been here, I've been used as a speaker to speak to the Sacramento mayor. I've been used as a speaker to speak to many judges, many DAs. I've been used as a mentor for those that are, you know how the governors closed down DJJ, and juveniles are no longer going to be housed in YA facilities. So they're sending them to groups as Amity to finish the remaining of their sentence. Guess who they use? Oscar as a mentor. So Amity's been really amazing here. If you do the work here, you could win. But if you come here with an attitude of entitlement, like, oh, I need, why aren't they letting me out to work? You know, they're stopping me from doing this. Guess what? You're stopping yourself, because that attitude is definitely not an attitude that many people that have been incarcerated a long time and wish they had this opportunity would have, right? It's only sometimes 3 to 6 months wait, but through that wait, guess what? Your family could come visit you. Nobody's watching over their back. There's no correctional officer saying, hey, you're too close. Hey, what are you guys doing? You order food from outside sources. And I mean, it is, the family doesn't have to go through all those gates where they feel like that they're incarcerated. You know, they feel free themselves. You could give them a tour. They could sit anywhere they want. But one of the main things that I appreciate about MCRP is that they're really truth about transitioning, because that's the goal. I'm gonna be quite honest. If I would have just got out after 10 years and went to a home, a sister or a cousin, I tell you now that I don't know how I would have made it, because the culture shock that I was receiving just being at MCRP was scary for me. But there was people greeting you. Guess what they called me when I first got here? Oscar. No longer was I my last name, and that was weird, right? You are introduced by your first name, and people that give you a hug. Hey, welcome, you made it, right? And I'm all stiff because hugs hasn't been practiced in a long time. And they give you an amazing meal that it's shocking, because you're like, wow, this is I think I came here early, like breakfast. It was like cubes of pineapple, it was grapes, it was watermelon, and then they gave me a big tray of waffles with strawberries on them, and mixed eggs and a bagel. I mean, it was insane. And they're like, yeah, welcome. You finally made it out. Just get used to this, right? And now, because of MCRP and Amity, I just got offered a great position by Mr. Bruce Seidel, who runs the California Conservation Corps. He was appointed by Governor Brown in 2015, and he just asked me if I could work for him, which was an amazing news, because I wouldn't been able to do that if I was never here at MCRP, because my release date is actually in September the 3rd. So I'm supposed to be in prison right now. But because of this program, guess what? I'm going to be working for the state in 2 weeks. And I'm very excited about that. So those men that are still wondering what MCRP is, it's an opportunity for you to transition back into society, but you got to be patient with the program. You got to be patient with the program, just like everybody has been patient to get to that release date. And what I mean by patience, there's going to be things that other people are doing and you just got here and you're not going to be able to do, but you're going to have to get there eventually. It's a process. It's a process that, just like you're going through this process, we're going to have to go through this process in life in general. Things are not just going to happen from one day to another. And I'm okay staying here for 9 months. And guess what? If I have to stay here for another year, it's fine with me. As long as I know I'm in a good place. And when I do get to transition to society, I'm going to be firm and I'm going to be ready. And if I have any problems, I'm going to know how to address them immediately. And one thing that I also love is that there's always self-helps if you're struggling with NA, Narcotics Anonymous, Gangsters, CGA. And if you need to see a therapist, guess what? They'll sign you up for a personal therapist. If you need to work on certain aspects of like your family, we have family courses where they meet with your family, and we do consensus circles, right? Where you finally get to have these family therapy groups to get to know each other and get to a place where everybody feels safe in a place so they can communicate better. If I could share more about MCRP, they're very, very, especially here, this program where I'm at, they encourage health big time. The staff runs with me Wednesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays just to see me succeed. And guess what? They're not probably at their best shape. They're probably 5 miles behind me, but they're pushing me all the way. And they're really encourage health big time. So that's what I got for MCRP right now. The experience has been amazing. I wish that all California has it, and I wish that it was mandatory for every individual that's coming home within a year. That it would be amazing if they have to do it on not even an option, because they would benefit from it. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. And any questions that you guys might have, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to jump in here because I'm a huge proponent of the MCRP program, and it excites me that it's available. The couple of questions I just have for you, Oscar. Well, first of all, looking at you, it's evident how healthy you are. Like, your skin glows. If you were still incarcerated, you'd probably still have that dinge that you came out with. But you look healthy, like you look physically healthy. There's a glow to your face and your smile and your eyes. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So I just want to point that out for our listeners who can't see your face and how you sparkle.
I'm blushing right now, fellas.
Awesome. No, it's true. I mean, you look so healthy. And looking at just, I know you're into your running, and when you talked about the garden and you're in an environment that looks like somebody's home, it doesn't look like you're in a transitional facility. It's a beautiful thing to see, because I've always wanted, I'd like to get a tour of it at some point. But I wanted to ask one question for you. Now, does the state pay for it, or are you paying for it?
The state pays for it. Free.
That's what I thought. So parole pays for it. And then I just have some more statistics I wanted to put out there for our listeners about it, because it's a program I'm always looking at and encouraging my clients that are determinately sentenced to try to get into. Now, you said you put in a form 22 is how you request it?
I requested it. If you're able to communicate with your CC1, with your counselor, if you're 32 months to the house, you're eligible already.
So, but you have to ask for it or put the form in, right? Because no one's going to come to you and say, "Hey, you want to try this?"
Yes, I would definitely be proactive about it and get in there, and that's what I did. You have to be your best advocate. Right.
You do, because a closed mouth will never get fed. I always say that.
Exactly.
So one thing I want to just tell the listeners about it, and Oscar, if I get anything wrong, jump in and cut me off, because obviously I've never physically been to the program. I've heard about it. I've had clients apply for it. I currently have a client that's going to board from MCRP, but that's my limited experience with it. And now meeting you, which I'm thrilled about, because I'll have all kinds of questions for you later. But my understanding is, like you just said, they have services for whatever you need, even getting back together with your family. If you have that problem, they can help you reconnect with your family as well.
Exactly.
They give, I feel like it's resources for everything, but I want to point out for the listeners where the locations are. So if you reside in Butte County, and Butte County is a multi-county cooperative the way they have it. So it's inclusive of Tehama County, Nevada County, Colusa County, Glenn County, Sutter County, Placer County, and Yuba County. All of those can go into the MCRP that's in Butte County. Kern County has a facility as well. San Diego has a facility, and Los Angeles has 3 locations, because there's more, unfortunately, returning citizens that came from Los Angeles than most counties, I believe. Now, you can stay for up to 2 years, but you cannot stay for less than 60 days before your earliest release date. So you have to be in there, but it appears that even after you're released, you can still stay. Is that correct, Oscar, if you need more time?
That's exactly correct. That if you're having trouble finding a place, or you're having trouble with any financial means, they will not let you get out of here without making sure you're secure. I want to add on too, when you work here, let's say, for instance, you have a job for a whole year.
Mhm.
That whole year, they're gonna take pretty much all of your check, and they're gonna give you about $50 a week when you go to work. But all of that check that they're taking away from you when you're ready to leave and your exit, you're gonna leave out of here with like $15,000. By the way,
So they force you to budget,
big time, and they give
and
you
they give you an
financial.
accounting. And do they give you an accounting of all your money? I know people are going to want to
Exactly.
know that.
Exactly, big time. You're getting the check stubs, so you're gonna do the math yourself as well. So nothing's gonna be sneaky or no scheming going on.
So
Real quick,
and then you can
real quick,
basically, oh,
they give you one of these every time you turn in money.
perfect. So there's like a receipt, and it writes down what it's for and how much you get and what they keep.
Yes.
Perfect. I just know people are going to ask that question.
Big
I know
time.
I would ask that question. And
It's a
then
fair question.
it's true, because you hear, we all hear different stories about different programs. So you want to make sure that people know that it's really a positive thing. And so once you go to classification, you can be endorsed if you're within 32 months of your release. And then when you're within 30 months, they transfer you.
Exactly.
30
There's
months or
people here.
less is when they transfer you.
Yes, people here that just got here that have 30 months left, literally.
Perfect. And if you have less than 2 months, you don't qualify. So you have to have
No.
30 months or less, but more than 2. Basically, that's how I understand
Absolutely.
it.
That's exactly what it
Okay.
is. Because remember, well, it all depends on case by case factors, because the 60 days is for the victim notification for those
Sure.
that have violent charges. So if you don't have a violent charge, I think it's like 12 days or something like that, right? But I believe that the 60 days is also enforced because the whole process is gonna
Takes
take
a
about
while.
yeah, so you'll be here for a couple of weeks, unfortunately. And but even if you make it for a couple of weeks here, I think it's amazing because you're able to always be connected with the resources out here. Just because you made
Right.
it in this program, some people that get out will not be able to get these resources because they didn't go through this process. But if you go through this process, you benefit from like getting a free laptop, you benefit from getting free interview clothes, you benefit from getting housing support, you benefit from all these things that a regular person wouldn't, which they would,
Right.
but they would have to go through different
Well,
mountains
and
to
not
get it.
necessarily though, because determinately sentenced inmates are not going to transitional housing, they're going home. And so I know for myself, when I argue for clients that are determinately sentenced for board, I almost argue that they're going to like an MCRP, they're going to transitional housing, and you're letting them get out early to get those skills. So if they could go to MCRP, it's incredible. And then I do want to just run through the things that make you ineligible to go. So just for the listeners,
Yes.
because there are certain
Yes.
things that preclude you. You have to have your county of last legal residence has to be one of the counties that I mentioned in order to become eligible for review. So
Exactly.
I would say, if let's just say it wasn't your last county and you had lived there previously, you may still apply and hope for the best, but the requirements say it's your last county of legal residence, has to be in one of the counties where the program is. You also cannot have a Section 290 registration requirement or an R suffix, and you cannot have current or prior convictions for sexually violent offenses. And you cannot have a static risk assessment score of 5, which means no high violence. You also must have a mandatory minimum placement code for escape or when a walkaway has occurred within the last 10 years. You must have, or must not have, no active or potential holds, warrants, or detainers. And I think, Oscar, you said that in the beginning. It took you a while because you had other cases.
Yes, exactly.
And then you cannot go if you have an active or potential ICE hold. If you have in custody rule violations, division A through C within the last 2 years, other than physical possession of alcohol or drugs, and that's not distribution and trafficking, that leads you out of it. But if your only rule violation is possession or use, you can still apply. But if you've had any within 2 years outside of those, you cannot. And then you also have to have been outside of the SHU for at least 12 months before applying. And you cannot be a validated STG1. You cannot have an arson arrest or conviction. And you can be considered eligible on a case-by-case basis if the facility is non-combustible. So if you have an arson arrest or conviction and the facility where you're applying, I guess, doesn't blow up, they may make an exception for you. And you cannot be closed custody. So then they do the case by case, but I think those are really important just to know what keeps you out and what gets you in. Because if you are somebody that is determinately sentenced, a lot of these things you can resolve now, like not getting in trouble for a couple of years, like clearing up your holds, that kind of stuff, disassociating from any gang activity. So I think it's a wonderful program. And if you can get into it, it's golden. Like I said, I have a client that's in it. It's my first client that's going to board from it. And I was kind of surprised because he sent me an email from an iCloud address and called me from a cell phone. And I initially was like, how in the world does this guy have an email address? And then I realized because at MCRP, he's doing well enough that they're giving him privileges. And it makes it a lot easier to communicate with your lawyer that way.
Big time, big time. You're not just with, I mean, with your lawyer and with family, society, you're part of.
You get reconnected to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you know, you could definitely get those privileges taken away if you are not doing what you're supposed to. So we're still under CDCR. There's still a CDCR officer here, and we do have an ankle monitor. So, right. and I think one of the failures that a lot of men have here, because we are being given all this freedom, that they ultimately start feeling free, which comes with all kinds of complaints, all kinds of entitlements. They start getting defensive about things, and they forget that you still have an ankle monitor on you, and we're still walking. Right. We still do count time. It's a gift. Yeah, it's a gift. They
need to have a sign that says when you walk in the door, "This is a gift. Don't get it revoked."
Don't get it revoked. Exactly. And after a minute, that happens to a lot of individuals where they get a little sour and bitter about things, right? And I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it, and sometimes it's I don't understand why people get like that when we still have individuals that would wish and praying for an opportunity like this who are doing really great, right? But unfortunately got a letter behind their sentence and they have to go through a different process. So with that, everything that you stated, it's right on the mark. And you said something important. Hey, if you're not there right now, you could get there. Yeah. Give yourself a year clean. And if you have not been part of, if your last residential area doesn't meet the MCRP qualifications, guess what? I just heard some news that if you go to your counselor, there's exceptions to the rule.
That's why I said just apply and see.
Apply and see. And if you have a family member that stays in Los Angeles, and for some reason, hypothetically speaking, if you're from somewhere where now when you exit, you are going to go to Los Angeles and live, if you have proofs of that address, it's a special committee that they will take you to consider you to go to one of these programs where they are afforded because of your new transition. So don't lose hope if you did not reside in, if your last address was not one of these places. You could still do it. There's an exception to the rule. You just have to fight for yourself and you have to advocate for yourself and you got to get on it. Being in the cell or being in the yard all day is not going to work. Complaining to the buddies, oh, this is BS, they don't. No, you got to keep going. Whenever you hit an obstacle, you try another one, and you keep asking for questions, and you write it. Guess what? You could write a letter to the warden. By the way, I never knew this. You could write him a personal letter and ask him, what is your concern? He's like our mayor, right? People, when they told me this, a great lieutenant, he's like, look, when you have a question, go ahead and write him a letter, right? And he will reply, and he will send somebody to your door, and they'll try to somehow, some way, get your issues resolved or send you to the right direction or just give you the information. So don't give up on yourself.
Exactly. I really appreciate that, Oscar, because you have so much information to help so many of our clients. I don't think people realize how many guys are serving determinate sentences. And it's just an incredible
Yes.
program. It came out of Stanford. They did this whole research thing on it. And it really
Yep.
has it reduces the recidivism. So many less guys come back after going through MCRP. And, you know, the long-term offenders that aren't lifers, those are the revolving door guys, a lot of them. Short-termers, no disrespect that 10 years is not a short term, but in comparison to like Thomas, who had 40, and to Frankie, who has 27, it is a short term. And so to be given that gift, there's such a level of gratitude that should come with it. And the fact that they give it to you for free, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I definitely encourage those that that if there are people listening inside, or somehow the message is being sent, I would consider start doing the work now. If you're not a lifer, guess what? Start acting like a lifer, because your life has been part of criminal activity anyways. So now you should start considering yourself a lifer and do what lifers do, and then start going into these self-help groups. Guess what? He was incarcerated for 40 years, but I got away for the past 30. And when I got caught and I got banged really hard. And I finally understood, right, that I needed to do something and change for myself. And luckily I was hanging around with individuals that did 40, that got out the shoe and did 40 years. Literally, I still communicate with one through his wife right now that is struggling. He just got denied 5 years. He did 40 years in the shoe, and he's been incarcerated for 45, right? He struggles.
Send him my way. Send him to me.
I sure will. He struggles because he has about 900 confidentials. He has had a write up within probably 7-8 years. No violence, no nothing, but these confidentials keep coming in, and unfortunately, they're playing an active role in his meetings. So I think about those men, right? When I'm here, what would they do for this opportunity? And those that are incarcerated that are not lifers, guess what? We're walking around with these men in the yard right now. And these men would always tell us, man, like, get out there and do good. But some of them don't even know what good is, right? So you come over here and it's a struggle. It's not easy. Meal at Jack in the Box, I think, I don't even like Jack in the Box, but somebody invited me yesterday. It was like $14-15. That's minimum wage right now. $15. You working 1 hour for a pretty shitty meal, right? And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I had $20, right, in my pocket. And I told my friend, hey, don't worry, it's on me. And I looked and I was like, whoa, bro, I think we're gonna have to split one of these.
You know,
it's not like
you talk about being healthy. So when you go to fast food, you're going to see the value menu, right? So you can get more for your bang, because they're trying to kill the poor. Don't eat there.
Oh my God. And guess what they did? They sure did. They got me yesterday. But if there's a way, you know, we could make it for sure. And it's all shopping smart, but nevertheless, you know, I encourage are not aware MCRP. You know what's amazing about MCRP? That we're ex-lifers, right? And that are now transitioning. Now they're transitioning. So guess what? We're around individuals that have been incarcerated forever as well. And we get to see how they struggle, right? Guess what? They had it all figured out in prison. These were like the golden childs, but they come over here and now we see them panicking. Yeah, it's totally different. They're panicking with us. So it's amazing to see how we're all able to push each other and help each other back up and work through this process.
Well, it's amazing. Good job. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, because when I have a problem or a situation or I don't understand something, because we work out every day at 5 a.m, Oscar and I. So I'll ask Oscar, like, man, like,
Frankie, you're cutting off really bad. We can't hear you. Frankie, you're cutting off really bad.
Okay. Can you hear me?
No, Frankie, you're not cutting off. It's Oscar's connection that has been
I can hear him.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll ask Oscar, like, hey, bro, like, I don't understand this. Like, man, like, and he's younger than I am. And he'll tell me, hey, bro, like, this is the angle, or this is the way. It's like, you've been working on it. You just can't get frustrated. okay, what's plan B, what's plan C, what's plan D, and it always brings you back. Okay, if this way didn't work. Okay, well, what's another avenue I could go, or what's another avenue I could attack to succeed where I'm trying to go, or networking people, because it is true when we're in there and we got everything figured out, but when we come out here, yeah, I had credibility on my yard. I could run events. I could get any door open, whatever it might be. I couldn't go into the prison right now. But out here, I have no credibility, which I'm building up. And it's this networking and networking. It's the same process. It's like when I did the Giorgio Armani shoot, I got paid for it, but they ended up taking tax. I was like, oh man, what? But because I didn't have to pay tax in there, I didn't have to pay like next in June 1st, I'm getting my own apartment. I'm going to go pick up my car in a couple of weeks. So these things, like Oscar does say, like trust the process. That's what I tell people. Because when I came out here, I came out running. Why? Because the individuals I hung out, they're successful. They put me in right positions. When I took the time for me, like it broke me. I started crying, like, whoa, what the hell? It was just the beach. But I tell individuals and men who are on my case, look, trust the process now. You have to trust the process. You have to do these things, because if you don't, you're going to get swallowed up in here. Yeah, we had a goal, but things change. Life happens out here quick. And how are you going to react to it? You're going to have to use everything. If you truly internalize all the groups that you took, then you'll be prepared for these things, like how Oscar was saying. Like, trust me, like him, he's like one of the, if it wasn't like, I would take him anywhere with me. Like, hey, bro, we're gonna go speak here. Like, this is what this topic is, and because I know he has and how much growth he has. Yeah, he's younger than me, but he's one intelligent individual.
Oh, thank you, Frankie. You are too, brother.
I love it. I think it's awesome. Did Armani let you keep their clothing after the shoot?
No, yeah, they give us like because it was a CoverGirl shoot, so they give us robes, they give us slippers, they give us like what are those things called?
I think
Ornaments.
they gave you a bathing suit, didn't they?
So
Wait,
like
that's
A one piece.
awesome.
so they gave me a pass. I carried this because
Hey.
it was my first, it was actually my second shoot.
Are you a
But
photographer or a model?
no, I'm a PA right now, production assistant, but
Very nice.
I'm trying to get into still camera to hold the camera. But
Oh,
but also at the same time, I work for Impact Justice, where I'm housed at Mass Liberation, where I help incarcerated men find jobs. I went
that's
out
awesome.
networking. I went out networking to go find friendly jobs for convicted felons.
That's
Like, hey,
awesome.
like, what are you doing? How are you doing these things? Like, I was talking to Los Angeles Police Department. I invited them to the office. Like, hey, if you ever need help, Oscar and I did. We went to Oxnard. Was it Oxnard, Oscar? Or we went to a school to go speak
Yes,
to.
in the valley,
Yeah,
somewhere in the valley.
yeah.
Yeah.
We went to go speak to a school. The first class was juniors and seniors. The second class were freshmen and sophomores. And we went in there and told them our story. Basically, the discussion came on choice and decisions that we make in our life and how it impacts other people, regardless if it's good or bad. It's always going to impact somebody. You, your family, like you don't really know, but the choices that I have made were impacted so many, not only them, but community, people in prison. Um, so those are the things that we went to go speak on.
I think that's incredible, the way you guys are giving back. And as you're helping people find jobs, start collecting resumes for gentlemen that would like to give back and have carpentry and those types of skills. I'm opening a rescue and I'm going to need a team.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go, right there. We have a lot of strong men.
And
yeah,
I know I
because
got clients who are like, I know how to paint, I know how to do this. And I'm like, I'm going to be calling in on everybody.
Come on now, we're here.
We're going to be saving a lot of men and a lot of animals with this rescue. So
Let's do it.
yeah.
oh yeah, I was part in Pleasant Valley. I was part of it's called New Life Canine.
I know it. I know the woman that runs it.
Okay, yeah, I
So
was part of that
you
program.
went through the dog training program?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to get up north, my friend. If this
Yeah,
PA thing doesn't work out for you, there's work in rescue.
yes, there is.
So yeah, I train also. I shadow a trainer and take my dog in regularly. So because I work at the shelter, so that I'm always trying to help the dogs. That's why I had to rush off the call earlier today. So yeah, that's awesome that you did that. Did you like that program? That's a life-changing program.
Because we were the first ones in our prisons with that program.
Mm-hmm.
I did like it. I had my ups and downs with it, because for a program like that, you have to be changed. You have to internalize your character defects. You have to change your emotions. You have to change all these things. And they were great men, but some of them they haven't faced their unresolved issues, and they would come out.
Right. Right.
And that's why I say that, like, you have to really internalize these things, that if you had anger, if you have those
Oh,
type
you
of
have to get in
things.
touch with all of that, especially if
Yeah,
you're going to deal with animals,
yeah.
children
Because
or humans.
when it comes, when everybody says, "Oh, I have patience," I have patience. Yes, I had a Labradoodle from 6 weeks. So when he was crying, okay, that's where, okay, like, okay, I had to work on my patience for it. It's not his fault. Like, okay, and I start understanding them. I start, okay, this is the thing, because they don't show up no matter what.
Yeah.
And those are the things I tell men in groups. I tell men, like, bro, if you haven't dealt with your resolve it on issues that you haven't faced it, they're gonna come up harder. Even
They will.
when I have this guy on my caseload right now, I go, hey, bro, like, if the reason it's showing up, your anger, because you really haven't dealt with it yet. You really haven't faced with it while you're in prison. So those are the things that we really have to face. What's wrong with us? Or why? Like how Elizabeth always says, why about the what?
Yep.
We already know what the what is, but why? Why are you feeling like this? How come you feeling like this? And
Right.
coming out here, you're gonna feel different emotions and different triggers. Okay, why did I feel
Oh,
like that?
sure.
How come? So it's the same thing in prison. And then when she told me that, I came back and we went to Lifer Group, and I wrote that on the board, like, hey, why about the what? We already know what the what is. I committed a murder.
Right.
Why did I do that? How come did I do it? Why do I like? Why am I feeling anger? Why am I feeling depressed? Why do I feel
Yep.
that I need validation from people? I mean, if you
That's what I
understand
always
these
say.
things,
Ask yourself why, and then ask yourself why again for every response you have. Why, until you get to the underneath.
yes, and I tell people these are the things that we have to understand. I go, we come in these groups and we say the serenity prayer, like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that cannot change. I was like, bro, like, when they asked me that, yes, I did say step 10, but the thing that helped me is the serenity prayer, because it's my reaction to everything. It's not my fault that the cop didn't announce, hey, there's yards delayed. I'm waiting for
Right.
2 hours or whatever it might be. It's my reaction to any situation now, even out here.
I have a plaque with the serenity prayer in my office, and I'm not in recovery, but I read it every time I sit at my desk. It's like one of the first things that my eyes see. And then I sit down for my day of either my client calls or my hearings. I work some of the steps, and it's, again, I'm not in recovery, but they're beneficial. So you guys teach us too. It's pretty cool. I'm really excited for you guys. I'm happy to see you free and that you're all so productive. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. So last week, Thomas had the spotlight. This week, Oscar, Frankie, Michele. So we're going to cut it off here because we've been going for longer than I expected, of course.
Sweet.
Thought a 10-minute topic
Right.
was going to be but it's
Oh
good.
my God.
It's
Oh, you
good.
should have known if I was here, it was going more than 10
That's
minutes.
right.
'Cause
But it was
I like to know stuff.
so very, very valuable. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So if anybody has any burning desire that can't wait until next week, if you want, we can resume the topic. We can do anything you want. But I did want to say, just I always forget to do this disclaimer that we are not here giving legal advice. Nothing we say should influence anything you do out there, from a legal standpoint. And I do apologize, but that just overlaps every single show I've ever done. I am not your attorney. Joe is not your attorney. Michele is not your attorney. Well, other than Thomas and Frankie, that's probably not true. But anybody who's listening, we are not your attorney. Number one, sorry about the boring stuff. Number two, I do want to make sure I do get Michele and Joseph's contact information for where you can reach out to them and inquire about their services, availability, whatever it is, related to representation of someone who may need it. So let me start with Joe.
My contact information, I can be reached. My phone is 909-912-0190. 909-912-0190. Give me a call or leave a voicemail message, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Awesome. Michele.
I can be reached by phone at 209-283-3009. My phones are answered Monday through Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. If you call me on GTL, your call will be accepted. If I'm not available, you'll be given my voicemail where you can leave a detailed message. If you're calling about a loved one, please leave a CDCR number, institution, and hearing date if applicable. It makes it a lot easier for me to call you back. And you can always email me at liferlaw@gmail.com, LIF as in Frank, ERLAW@gmail.com. And I'm always happy to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you both. And then finally, I just wanted to let everybody know that I am trying to navigate over to YouTube, where they have a better algorithm program to generate more interest in the show. Spotify and Anchor FM just don't have that sort of thing, or maybe I don't know how to use it. YouTube's easier. They have AI, Brave New World. It's just gathering everything and it's putting it out to people, finding people that will be interested in the content. And I've already started to move some of the stuff over slowly to get the algorithms going. But my idea is to have this show live and on camera. So we just hit play and then everybody knows that we're live. And so nobody's inappropriate in this group. Maybe me. I'm probably the one.
I was going to say, other than me.
I mean, you got to watch your language. You can't talk about different things on YouTube. I don't want to get off into a YouTube tangent, but that was my goal. If you would like to go over and try and generate some interest in that show, it's YouTube Light on Suitability. You can find it. It's pretty obvious what the content. It should match.
Oh, I have to go look. I didn't know you did that. Awesome. Good for you.
Slowly. It's been very slow because I'm also helping Alan with his podcast, but it subscribed, it liked all the videos that are posted, and that'll help algorithms, the computer, the robot that's behind the scene to try and get it. And then maybe we can have a bigger reach, because I'm just, like Michele says, we want to help people. That's why we spend this time doing this. And like I said, the safety net for everybody else. And it's good for Michele, Joe, and I to kind of reconnect every week to say sometimes when we have a bad week or things are just denials or crappy situations happening, that's just kind of nice to be re-inspired. And I did think that Oscar's and Thomas's, but I know Thomas anyway, was very inspiring for me, and I think for everybody else. And Frank,
I can't wait to hear it. I'm sorry I missed it last week.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So thank you everybody for tuning in.